Welcome to the Reddit Family Tallis YouTube channel, a place where genuine and inspiring family stories are shared. Here, you'll enjoy unique videos about family life, humorous moments, and meaningful lessons. Let's explore together the stories where love and connection shine through. Join us in creating beautiful memories. Please comment and let us know where you're watching from. Hit subscribe now so you won't miss the special video launching tomorrow. I found my parents' will, and it changed everything. Ethan had always been the responsible one in the family. At 34 years old, he had spent the past 5 years helping his parents financially, making sure they never struggled. He covered a portion of their mortgage, paid for groceries, and even took care of repairs around the house. Meanwhile, his younger brother, Ryan, 28, did absolutely nothing. No job, no responsibilities, just sitting around waiting for life to hand him everything on a silver platter. And somehow, their parents, Greg and Linda, were more than happy to enable it. The day Ethan found out the truth wasn't some dramatic sit-down conversation. His parents never even intended to tell him. Instead, he stumbled across it by accident, completely by chance. That afternoon, his dad had asked him for help with some paperwork, as he often did. Greg was never great with technology, and Ethan had lost count of how many times he had scanned documents, filled out forms, or sorted out bills for them. It was routine. But that day was different. As Ethan sorted through the stack of papers, something caught his eye, a folder labeled Estate Plan and Last Will and Testament. It was right there, mixed in with other documents. He wasn't the type to snoop, but curiosity got the best of him. After all, he had been the one keeping them afloat financially. It wasn't unreasonable to wonder how things were set up for the future. So, he opened it. And what he saw made his stomach drop. Everything, the house, the savings, the assets, was going to Ryan. Not a single mention of Ethan, aside from a generic line about loving both of their sons equally. That was it. After years of sacrifice, thousands of dollars spent, and countless hours fixing their problems, Ethan was completely erased. His lazy, entitled younger brother, who had never lifted a finger to help, was inheriting everything. Ethan felt like a fool. All this time, he had been bending over backward to make sure his parents were financially secure. He had sacrificed his own savings, his own time, and his own peace of mind, only to find out that, in the end, he didn't matter to them. His hands trembled as he gripped the paper. His chest tightened with a mixture of rage, betrayal, and disbelief. How long had they planned this? Had they always seen him as nothing more than a financial backup plan? Ethan didn't know the answers. But he did know one thing: everything had just changed. Ethan sat there, gripping the will in his hands, his mind racing. His heart pounded in his chest, anger rising like a fire he couldn't control. After everything he had done for his parents, after all the years of sacrifices, they had still chosen Ryan over him. It wasn't just unfair, it was a betrayal. He didn't know how long he had been sitting there, staring at the paper, but eventually, his father's voice snapped him back to reality. "Ethan, what's taking so long?" Greg walked back into the room, expecting Ethan to be scanning documents like always. But Ethan didn't bother to hide what he had found. Slowly, he lifted the will and looked his father dead in the eye. "So this is how it is." His voice was eerily calm, but there was no mistaking the anger beneath it. "Everything goes to Ryan? After everything I've done for you?" His father's face paled for a second, but then he sighed, like Ethan was just being dramatic. "Ethan, it's not what you think." "Oh really?" Ethan snapped, standing up. "Because it looks pretty damn clear to me. I've been paying your mortgage, helping with groceries, fixing this house, while Ryan does absolutely nothing. And you still decided he's the only one that matters?" Greg shifted uncomfortably, avoiding Ethan's gaze. "It's complicated." That was it. No apology. No real explanation. Just a weak excuse, as if that was supposed to make it better. Ethan's jaw clenched. "Call Mom." His father hesitated. "Now." A moment later, Linda walked in, confusion on her face. But as soon as she saw the will in Ethan's hands, her expression changed. Guilt. "Ethan, honey, listen." Her voice was soft, gentle, like she was doing him a favor. "You don't need the inheritance. You have a good job, you're independent. Ryan, well, he struggles. We just wanted to make sure he was taken care of." Ethan felt something snap inside him. "He struggles." "He doesn't struggle, Mom. He refuses to do anything because he knows you'll always bail him out. And now you're rewarding him for it." His mother opened her mouth, but Ethan didn't want to hear it. He took a deep breath, jaw tight, and set the will down on the table. "Got it," he said coldly. "Glad to know where we stand." Then, without another word, he turned and walked out. They had made their choice. Now, it was time for him to make his. Ethan didn't look back as he walked out of his parents' house. His chest felt tight, his hands were still shaking, but he kept moving. He had spent his whole life trying to earn their approval, their respect, only to find out he had never really mattered to them. Not in the way Ryan did. By the time he got to his car, his phone was already buzzing. His mother was calling, probably to smooth things over, to convince him he was overreacting. He ignored it. Then came a text. "Mom, Ethan, please don't be upset. We need to talk." He let out a bitter laugh. Now they wanted to talk? Now that he had finally seen the truth? For the first time in years, Ethan made a decision. He was done. Done paying their bills. Done fixing their problems. Done pretending like this was a real family. If Ryan was the one they cared about, then Ryan could take care of them. The silence lasted 2 weeks. At first, Ethan figured his parents assumed he was just pouting. That he'd cool off and, like always, come back to help them. But this time, he didn't. And as the days passed, it became clear that his absence wasn't just noticed, it was felt. Then, one afternoon, his phone buzzed. A text from his dad. "Dad, the property taxes are due." That was it. "No, how are you?" No, we miss you. Just a cold, transactional demand. Like he was still their personal ATM. Ethan stared at the screen for a moment, almost amused at how predictable they were. They had made it clear he wasn't good enough to inherit anything, but they still expected him to pay for it. So he typed back, "Ethan, I'm sure Ryan will handle it, since the house is his and all." Exactly 5 minutes later, his mom called. He let it ring. Then another text. "Mom, Ethan, please don't be like this. We need to talk." Ethan smirked. Oh, now they wanted to talk. Now that the bills were piling up and reality was hitting them in the face. He waited an hour before replying. "Ethan, there's nothing to talk about. You made your choice. Now you can live with it." For the first time in his life, Ethan wasn't the one rushing in to fix their problems. And it felt damn good. Ethan expected some backlash, but he underestimated just how desperate his parents would become once they realized he wasn't coming back. The silence lasted only a day before the next attempt. This time, it wasn't just his parents, it was Ryan. His phone buzzed late at night. "Ryan, dude, why are you being such a drama queen? It's not a big deal. Just help them out like you always do." Ethan nearly laughed. Not a big deal? The same guy who was inheriting everything was now acting like none of this mattered. He fired back. "Ethan, no, I think you've got it covered. Since you're the favorite and all." A few minutes passed before Ryan responded. "Ryan, oh my God, are you seriously mad about the will? Grow up, man. It's just money." Ethan clenched his jaw. Just money? Now that it was Ryan's to inherit, suddenly it didn't matter. The hypocrisy was astounding. "Ethan, then you won't mind using some of that money to pay the mortgage, right?" Silence. That was the end of it, for the night, at least. But the next morning, things escalated. Ethan woke up to a bank transfer request from his mom. The amount? $3,500. No message. No explanation. Just a cold, shameless demand for the exact amount they needed to cover their overdue mortgage. They weren't even asking anymore, they were just assuming he'd cave. Ethan declined it without hesitation. Not even 5 minutes later, his phone rang. "Mom." He let it go to voicemail. Then came another text. "Mom, Ethan, I know you saw the request. Why did you decline it?" He took his time responding. "Ethan, because it's not my responsibility. Try Ryan." Then another call. Declined. Another text. "Mom, we're going to lose the house if you don't help us." Oh, now it was an emergency? After years of treating him like nothing more than a paycheck, now they wanted to play the victim? "Ethan, maybe you should have thought about that before deciding I didn't matter." A few seconds later, his dad chimed in. "Dad, you're really going to let your parents become homeless?" Ethan actually laughed out loud. They weren't broke. They weren't losing the house. They just didn't want to dip into their own savings, because they were used to him paying for everything. He ignored them. For the first time, their problems weren't his problems anymore. Ethan thought ignoring them would be enough. He thought if he stopped responding, they'd finally get the message. But he should have known better. His parents weren't the type to let things go, especially when money was involved. The next morning, he woke up to something even more ridiculous than a bank transfer request. His parents had taken the drama to Facebook. Ethan wasn't surprised that they were airing out their grievances online. His mom had always been one for passive-aggressive posts. But this time, it wasn't just some vague complaint about ungrateful children. They were calling him out by name. His dad's post was the worst. So-called family should never turn their back when you need them most. We gave everything to our children, and this is how we're repaid. My son, who should be helping us in our golden years, has chosen to abandon us. I hope you're happy, Ethan. They tagged him. Oh, they wanted a reaction. And the comments? Full of their friends and distant relatives chiming in, calling Ethan selfish, ungrateful, heartless. Some even said he owed his parents for raising him. And, of course, Ryan had to add his own post. Some people only care about money. They don't understand that family is about love and sacrifice. I'd do anything for my parents, but some people just don't get that. That was it. That was Ethan's breaking point. For years, he had been the only one making sacrifices. He had given thousands of dollars, endless hours, and his own peace of mind to make sure his parents were taken care of. And now, after everything, they were painting him as the villain? Fine. If they wanted this to be public, he'd give them the truth. Ethan opened Facebook, took a deep breath, and started typing. I've stayed quiet long enough. My parents have been telling their side of the story, so here's mine. For years, I've been the one paying their bills, buying their groceries, fixing their house. Meanwhile, my brother Ryan has done nothing. And yet, when I found out their will, I learned they had left me with nothing. Everything goes to Ryan. I was never family to them, I was just their personal ATM. Now that I'm done being used, suddenly I'm the bad guy. If helping family was so important, maybe Ryan should start now. I'm done. And I don't regret it. Ethan hit post. Let them try to twist the truth now. What do you think? Do you believe family should always help each other, no matter what? Or do you think respect and fairness should go both ways? Let me know in the comments, I'd love to hear your thoughts.